Okay, great. So we are ready to start. Hello. Hi, good morning and good evening to everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So welcome to join this seminar titled Social Protection System for Women and Girls. This seminar is organized by FIDA Taiwan. My name is Joyce Ho, the president of FIDA Taiwan. It's my great honor and privilege to moderate this seminar. But before we start, I'd like to invite Xiu Feng to say hello to everyone.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to welcome and introduce the speakers of today's seminar. For the opening remarks, we are very honored to have Ms. Carolina Rios Vilota, who is the president of FIDA and from Colombia. So Carolina, hi. And after the opening remarks, we will move to the panel discussion. The first panelist is Ms. Angela Demelch, who is honorary life president of FIDA. And after Angela, we are delighted to have Mr. Denis Scotto, who is Vice President of International Federation of Women in Legal Careers. She is also the member of Committee of Economic, Social, and Cultural Right, Vice Chairperson of Non-Governmental Organization Committee on the Status of Women from 2005 to 2007. And the third panelist is Ms. Silvana Vanadia, who is the director of FIDA and from Italy. And the next panelist is Ms. Aiziwa Okorofor, who is the director of FIDA from Nigeria. We also have Ms. Du In-shin, and Mr. Zhen Chuan Wei from Taiwan. And Ms. Du is the CEO of Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation, and Mr. Zhen is the social work supervisor of Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation. So after the above brief introduction, I'd like to welcome Ms. Carolina Rios Vilota to deliver the opening remarks. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you very much. Thank you to FIDA Taiwan for this effort to make this event. Right now, I am at New York, attending to the CSW at the United Nations. We are here to keep participating in these global discussions about women and girls. And also, before I start talking about the subject of the event, I would like to all of you invite you to Colombia. We are going to hold the international convention from the 4th to the 8th of November of 2024. So we have the information in our international and the convention website. So I invite you to be part of this important event for us as an international convention. So speaking about the social protect system and what is happening with women and girls, I think a social protect system must be formulated to provide a special coverage to get to the most vulnerable population that are exposed to poverty, violence, and with difficulties to access education and health, among others. These systems are being restructured to take into the account women and girls as part of most vulnerable population. The administration of justice has also been generating an approach that reduces gender-based violence. Considering the administration of justice as a system of social protection, because I think part of the justice administration it also has to be part of that system of social protection. As a jurist, as a lawyer, we must continue to strive to ensure that each of these areas are lost and try to this approach. Today, we know a little more about the numbers of complaints of violence against women. However, we still do not know figures and effectiveness of the administration of justice in cases of gender of violence. When I talk about justice and effectiveness, it means that procedures have been carried out with protection of the rights of a good name, the equality to no re-victimization, the due process to reparation and to the truth, and the opportunity to protective action, among others. Beyond knowing the number of complaints, we need to know the effectiveness of the measurements taken by the administration of justice to guarantee the fundamental rights of women and girls. Consequently, the gender approach must be granted within the social protection systems, and we as jurists must insist in to be applied in the exercise of our profession. So what I think is that, of course, we need to talk about health, we need to talk about education, we need to talk about many other systems, the social system that we have. But I think the administration of justice is one of the main structures from the states, from the country, that must be very strong to have all the steps and all the that we really need as a women and girls to be protected. If we have the laws, but we don't recognize that the effectiveness of this process are not working, we are not going to make a real change. So I think it's very important for us to know, of course, other systems, but because we are lawyers, we need to keep working in make that effectiveness real. So thank you very much for inviting me to this event, and I will let my colleagues to keep talking about this important matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carolina, for the very insightful opening remark. So I think next we will move to the panel discussion. For the panel discussion, our first panelist is Ms. Angela Domesh, the Honorable Life President of FIDA. So Angela, now floor is yours.
Yeah, Angela has sent her video to with her presentation. Yeah.
So Angela, I don't see the video from her.
You don't see it?
Yes.
She says that she sent her video by WeTransfer to Sue. ¿Quiere venir acá? ¿Quiere venir acá?
Okay, so I think maybe
maybe what we can do is to keep with the next panelist, and you can have a little bit of time
yes.
to look for the
Okay.
video.
Okay, great. So I think
Okay.
during our waiting for the video from Angela, I think maybe we can move to the next panelist, Denise Scotto, the Vice President of International Federation of Women in Legal Korea. So Denise, can you hear me? Hi, Dennis. Could you open your video, your screen? Sorry, Denise, it seems that we cannot hear your voice. So Denise, can you hear my voice? And how about Sylvana? Sylvana, can you hear me?
Yes, sure, I can hear you. Start with my papers. Can you hear me?
Sylvana, yes, I can hear you. Yeah, so maybe how about you just start your panel first? Start your presentation first. Yeah, it seems there's some yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to take part in session about social protection. That is a human right now recognized by the international community. Yet, even today, many women struggle to access. There are still problems with particular regard to protection of women related at least to 3 different age groups: girls and minors in general, adult women, and older women. In this session, also considering it, I would like to focus our attention only on 2 of these 3 situations: that of girls and the one of the elderly. In particular, I would like to monitor with you today at what stage is social protection, and if and what needs to be done, if there are any sectors that deserve particular attention at a political or normative level. Therefore, the first situation we examine is that of girls and minors in general. In this regard, it can be stated that in Europe, social protection of girls and boys is guaranteed. The right to free education, the right to health care are now recognized everywhere. And dental care, for instance, in Italy and other European countries, are free for babies. Generally speaking, we can say that boys and girls are protected. However, today in Europe, there are still 2 big problems related to the social protection of minors. The first problem concerns illegal immigrant children, and the second problem is one of the missing children. With regard to immigrant children, it is clear that if illegal migration is not defeated, social protection for illegally immigrant children is difficult. However, important interventions have been made. In the European Union, for instance, a directive has been issued which requires member states to guarantee to unaccompanied minors the right relating to temporary residence, healthcare, school placement. And in Italy in particular, we have a specific law which provides the possibility for unaccompanied foreigners to have a voluntary guardian. Who is a voluntary guardian? Voluntary guardian is a private citizen available to exercise the legal representation of a foreign minor who has arrived in Italy without a reference adult. Voluntary guardians take on the protection of an unaccompanied foreign minor or more minors, up to 3, and have some specific tasks. The task to ensure that the minor is guaranteed access to rights without any discrimination, the task to promote physical well-being of the minor, to follow education and integration paths, to supervise safety and protection conditions, the task to administer any assets of the minor. In Italy today, there are around 4,000 voluntary guardians, but There are still few if we consider that unaccompanied minors in 2023 were over 20,000. So this is the situation for illegally immigrated children. The second problem that concerns children and their social protection is that of missing children. In the European Union, the problem arises in much smaller amounts in numbers than in other continents. Nevertheless, it exists. In Italy, around 70,000 children disappear every year. Of these, 3/4 are foreigners and are all connected to Italian. So we are talking of about 4,200 Italian children, more or less, disappeared in 1 year. Of these 4,000, found are almost certainly sent to the market of prostitution and organ sales. It is a very serious problem on which our police, together with the police of other European states and other countries in the world, is actively working. What we can do is always talk about it in government attention on this problem and insist that the international community deals with it. Finally, these two matters, illegal minor and missing children, data say that in 20 there were 2.4 billion elderly people in the world. For the first time in the history of humanity, there will be more people aged over 60 than young people under 16. In particular, in Italy, in 2050, the elderly found 1/3 of the population. What does it mean? That we must actively strive to that our countries become countries for the elderly. We must guarantee social protection to the elderly, not only for their own well-being, but also for the well-being of people and adults that are almost weak themselves and unmanaged and aged population. Without the social protection system for we risk to harm young and adult women who need to take care of them. By protecting the elderly, we protect young and adult women. Actually, Italy and other European countries today are not countries for the elderly. So let's see if there are any social protection that we can. I'm referring to simple social protection intervention, which could be organized by voluntary associations with the help of local administrators without the need of new laws by national parliament, which would require longer times and more complicated procedures. And I have identified at least five such as it's for the possibility for the elderly to be sufficient, with the consequence that they will need source committed to a so-called retirement home. But hospitalization affects in a negative way the psychology of the elderly person and can favor the onset of the depression for society, suggests that local great attention to interventions for the adaptation of homes of the elderly, as the improvement of the housing conditions reduces the use of hospitals. A second intervention concerns public spaces and access to public services. I'm talking about clearing sidewalks of obstacles, making them not slippery, with enough space to accommodate wheelchairs, which are wider than children's strollers. And it is also about creating a public transport network that reaches all neighborhoods. So this is about public spaces, but another matter is the one of public services. Fortunately, in Italy, the public administration is now digitalized. It is possible to request and obtain certificates online and to book medical visits online. It is true that today's elderly people of 80 and 90 years often do not have necessary information technology, but the elderly from 2030 onward will certainly have these skills. Therefore, continuing on the path of digitalization is very important. Third tip, one of the most things for the elderly is to avoid loneliness. Social protection of the elderly can take place not only by guaranteeing them free or low-cost medical care, which already happens in Italy, but above all, creating services such as cultural centers, libraries, recreational spaces. In this way, social inclusion is promoted, and the aging process itself is slowed down. On a scientific level, it has been proven that the development of dementia senile is delayed or slowed down by maintaining cognitive activity. Therefore, by promoting the social and cultural inclusion of the elderly and avoiding loneliness, their health is improved. And this also leads to significant savings in public spending on healthcare. Another important problem, fourth point, of the general increase of prices linked to the income of elderly people. The constant increase of prices of goods and services and the need to pay assistants or caregivers means that the income of elderly people becomes insufficient, sometimes even to purchase basic goods. It could then be useful to have agreements between distribution and customer associations for the offer of food and necessities and charity purchasing groups, to promote agreements, settlements, and energy or gas companies in order to obtain preferential rates or bonus for elderly people. And finally, the fifth suggestion is related to intervention in the field of social security. The elderly are very often and easily victims of fraud crimes and psychological and emotional violence. Voluntary associations would open and manage listening and safety desks in city neighborhoods where the elderly could find welcome, support, and useful advice for self-protection. These are some suggestions on which we all could move, without forgetting that the first step to guarantee the social protection of elderly women are public social and health services. Well integrated, coordinated, accessible, they have a strong positive influence on state of health and on serenity of elderly people and on the serenity of their families too. As mentioned before, most of the suggested measures do not require major commitments either from the point of view of laws reform or public spending, but only strong determination and the will to take into account the needs of elderly people, more or less self-sufficient. It is certainly a task that will take time. But the numbers tell us no. If we've almost over 65, and to conclude, we can say that a city suitable for the elderly is a city suitable for everyone, as the social protection of the elderly makes the life of each of us easier and makes the life of women easier. And these are my suggestions and my considerations, and thank you for your attention.
Okay, sorry, I forgot to. Okay, thank you, Silvana. Thank you for your introduction about the social protection system for women and girls from in Italy. Thank you so much. So let's move to the next panelist, Ms. Dennis Gatto. So Dennis, can you hear me now? Dennis?
Excuse me. Denise says that on the chat that she was unable to open her micro, so maybe you can help her to, yeah. And also Angela sent again her video.
Okay.
To Siraya Shen email.
Okay. So maybe so the next panelist is Ezivan Okorofor, but it seems that she has not. Okay, so how about maybe we just move to the Ms. Du Yinshen and Mr. Zhen Chuan Wei, the CEO of Taipei Women Rescue Foundation, and also the senior social worker of Taipei Women Rescue Foundation, to introduce the social protection system for women and girls in Taiwan.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me open my, okay.
Yeah. Can you see your files?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. It's 7 p.m. in Taiwan now, so I'm not sure what time is there. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm so glad you could all be here today. Let me first of all thank the organizer, FIDA Taiwan, for your invitation, and thank the moderator for your invitation. I am Zhen Junwei, a social work supervisor of Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation. It's my honor to give a presentation at this event. The topic of my speech is social protective systems for women and girls in Taiwan. By the way, I'm a little nervous to speak because my English is limited, so I will really appreciate your patience with my accent. Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation was established in 1987 and has been a pioneer in the effort to eliminate the trafficking of women in Taiwan. Rescuing the trauma and promoting the transformation are the purpose of TWRF. We have provided the service to the victims who suffer from intimate partner violence, online gender-based violence, or human trafficking. We also give assistance to the children who witness domestic violence and the adults who witness domestic violence in their childhood. Additionally, TWRF is also operating Alma Museum, the first social education based on the human rights movement of the confirmed woman in Taiwan. If you want to get a deeper understanding of the foundation, you can scan a QR code attached on the slide. So, according to the publication of the latest Gender at a Glance in Taiwan, we can find that in 2022, over 80% of victims in reporting of sexual assault incidents are women. Around 77% of victims of intimate partner violence are women. Most victims of cases reported under the Gender Equality in Employment Act, the Gender Equality Education Act, the Sexual Harassment Prevention Act, or the Stalking and Harassment Prevention Act are women. On the other hand, due to the rapid development of digital technology, online gender-based violence incidents have been emerging, which have caused real damage to the privacy and personal safety of the public. TWRF has set up a hotline and built a special website since 2015 to provide counseling service and case management to the victims. According to the statistical data of service cases in 2023, there are 272 clients who will receive service from TWRF, and over 80% of them are women. It's similar in statistics to international trends that women have usually been victimized by online gender-based violence. Well, in summary, we can see that the majority of victims of gender-based violence in Taiwan are female. Faced with the current stringent situation of gender-based violence, the prevention policy in Taiwan will focus on providing protection and service to victims and trying to accommodate aggressors in order to reach 3 levels of prevention. The primary prevention will focus on promoting anti-violence awareness by civic education and encourage people to stop violence. The secondary prevention will focus on putting emphasis on identification and notification and staging an early intervention to high-risk groups. And the tertiary prevention will focus on providing victims with protection, treatment, and trauma recovery service through the integration of cross-network resources. Achieving such goal is closely related to the cooperation between public and private sectors. And on top of that, it's important to legislate for the protection against violence. When the law was enacted, the government must follow the principle of administration by law to make policies and protect the rights and interests of the people. The government could outsource service to NGOs, and the people would get a better care and protection by public-private collaboration. If there are deficiencies in the protective system, NGOs are usually the strong advocates to push for the improvement of the laws and policies. Next, there are some examples of the laws Taiwan has made to respond to the various situations and prevent the people being harmed. For instance, The Domestic Violence Prevention Act is established in order to prevent acts of domestic violence and to protect the interests of the victims. Speaking of which, Taiwan is the first country in Asia to implement the Domestic Violence Prevention Act. According to the principle of 3 levels of prevention, TWRF has invested more effort to take action and provide service based on the victims to deal with the problem of gender-based violence. We have not only given counseling service and short-term service to resolve clients' problems, but have also provided intervention programs and combined related resources to help clients improve personal ability and make their life be stable. On the other hand, TWRF has intended to promote the government and the people to pay attention to all types of gender-based violence by advocating the development of the laws and policies, holding the training for professionals who are the members of network of violence prevention, educating the public about these issues, and so on. So, for instance, we have actively encouraged people to increase the awareness of bystander intervention, which is recognizing a potentially harmful situation or interaction and choosing to respond in a way that could positively influence the outcome. Another example is that TWRF has shot an animated short film this year and promote people to understand what digital body boundary is and look out for the danger of online gender-based violence. If you want to watch a full video, you can scan a QR code attached on the slide. So, as just mentioned, integrating resources related to the need is very important for social workers to provide a better service for the client. On this slide, you can see that the client maybe needs economical, medical, legal, educational, or other assistance. After having an approximate idea of what 3 levels of prevention are, let's move on to the next part. Taiwan's programs that improving social safety nets combine community-based protection systems with family-centered integration service to safeguard individuals. The government seeks to combine the strengths of various departments to build a dense safety protection network to support every individual in society. When there is a crisis in their life or environment, people can still maintain the best abilities needed for their survival and then recede and face various problems. The government has set up social welfare service centers nationwide to improve accessibility of welfare service and expand local service networks by providing more service for communities. The government also continues to inventory need for and availability of community resources and develop a diversified family supporting service program. Meanwhile, a one-stop window is established to receive reports and assign social workers to assess these reports. Hence, when faced with problems such as poverty, unemployment, or suicide, service systems can integrate resources and cooperate to help people in need. For example, If someone suffers from domestic violence, you can call the 24-hour service 113 protection hotline. When the report was received, a social worker not only provides counseling service, but also gives you a referral to Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Prevention Center to provide more support. The construction of a public-private partnership processing model is a main point of the program of social safety nets. With the cooperation among multiple agencies and organizations, we hope that social service links will be strengthened. The risk factors that underlie social decay will be controlled and eliminated, and a secure environment will be provided for people free from the threat of violence. In the end, I want to argue that the main point of intervention should be victim-centered by standing in Taipei Women's Rescue Foundation's position. Although it is family-centered in the program of social safety nets now. There is no denying that the family or family function is playing an important role in the prevention of violence. However, if we could put great emphasis on the subjectivity of the victim when the service was provided, the intervention based on victim-centered and with the help of family focus will be close to victims' need. So thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Zhen. Thank you so much. Thank you for a very clear introduction of the social protection system in Taiwan. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful presentation. Thank you. So now I see Angela seems online. So Angela, could you open your screen? Oh. So Angela, could you hear me?
I can hear you. Did you receive my video via WeTransfer? I sent it to you just now.
Uh-huh.
So can you put on the video that I sent to you?
Okay. It seems that we did not receive your video, but could you say something to us? Yeah. Sorry, Shoufeng is
There are some pictures. There is a PowerPoint presentation as well.
Okay. The video.
Can you open it? Can you open the WeTransfer I sent to you just now? Ahora, yo no sé si yo puedo subirlo aquí, la presentación que tengo acá. Sí, claro. ¿Cómo hago? ¿Share?
Dígale que sí se puede, que sí, que le permita compartir la pantalla. Share.
So thank you, Angela. I think Shoufeng is trying to find out whether she received the video or not. So
because the last thing I could do is I could share it with you.
Okay.
I have it here in my computer, so I could share it with you if you allow me to do it.
Okay, wonderful. Then, yeah, okay.
Okay, share. A ver, ¿dónde ahí?
Abro aquí.
¿Ya lo tiene abierto? No. What do you want to share? Optimize.
What do you want to optimize for this and images?
A ver, ¿dónde ahí?
For motion video, Ok. Entonces, ¿qué hago? Aquí pongo share.
Dígame. Porque eso es para... Entonces, ¿qué va a...
¿Dónde lo busco?
No sé dónde lo tiene.
en el desktop. Focus.
Ah, ya. Entonces, usted lo tiene en el desktop. Ok,
El desktop.
entonces...
¿Quieres? Dice, Good morning. First of all, thank you very much for having inviting me to be part of this. Good morning. First of all, I am going to talk about the ethic of care and maternalism in Colombia. I am going to talk about the maternal philosophy and the ethic of care in public policies and government responses to violence. I summarize the career of 5 Colombian women politicians, women who have distinctive effects on government policy, particularly regarding social violence that arise from gender-based values, such as maternal care, as a result of the quota law and the acceptance of women as policymakers. Political and social movements generated by the 1991 National Constitutional Assembly and the efforts of women's organizations. In the year 2000, the Colombian Congress passed Law 581, establishing a legal quota for women, requiring that 30% of all decision-making positions be held by women. The Congress elected in 2022 for the first time in history.
¿Por qué no? Ya.
no sé, pero-
Em,
no. Aquí,
Ya, un momentico, porque es que no.
we are trying to let Angela share the screen with her presentation, but it's been, I mean, let me see if I can share it here on my computer. Can you give us some minutes?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear the voice, but we cannot see the video. Yeah.
Video tuyo.
No, pues para pasárselo me toca mandárselo por WeTransfer.
Es muy pesado, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Ok, bueno, ¿dónde está? ¿Aquí? Enviados.
No, es-
Ah, no, en WeTransfer. ¿Se mete a WeTransfer usted?
no. ¿Qué? ¿Para mandárselo a
Sí.
usted?
Ajá. Sorry. We are trying to share
Ok. Aquí tu correo. Ok, entonces ahora tengo que espérese.
I
Ya. Más o menos. Espera un momentico.
Sí, pero espera.
Es que se está con el... Bueno. Ya tú se la tienes ya.
So Angela, could you share your video?
I'm trying to.
Okay.
We are trying to see where we can share it. Ahora sí es- Mm. Sí. Ya.
I don't know what somehow it doesn't allow us to share the video.
Que te abren a ti, que te permiten a ti to share it.
Do you hear me? Es que necesitamos que salga de acá. Está dando. I'm sorry, if you can check Siraya Shen email, we send her, then we transfer to her again. But because, did you get it?
I don't think so. Let me check with show phone.
Yes, please, we send her twice to her. Que mientras que yo miro a ver cómo se soluciona, entonces Pues que no me deja. Okay, allow to share screen.
Yeah, I'm checking with show phone. It seems that she did not receive your video.
Can you hear the presentation?
I can see the video, but I cannot hear the voice. Yeah.
Ah, okay. What about there? Do you hear you see the video but don't hear anything?
Yeah, but now it seems we cannot see the video. Yeah. It seems that Caroline tried to share the video, right?
Yes, I'm trying to share it.
Okay, but no, I still cannot see the video.
No sé por qué, ya, o sea, ya lo pudieron ver, pero no sale el video, no sale el audio. Mm. Mm.
So Carolina, are you trying to share the video?
Yes, I'm trying, but no, I don't know what is happening that doesn't allow me to for you to see it, but not to hear it. I don't know what to do there, though.
So I think actually I see. Oh, okay. It seems there's a video, but
Where?
yeah, now I can see the video, but okay, lose again.
Oh, you're looking at my screen. Can you see it now?
Yeah, now I can see the video, but I cannot hear the voice. There's no sound.
Yeah, but I don't know how to fix that, to be honest. Pueden verlo, pero no lo escuchan. Hay algo con el archivo. Por eso, pero no lo escuchan. Ya lo están viendo, pero no lo escuchan. Well, see, I don't know what else we can do, to be honest. But are you still looking the video, right? But no.
No sound. Yeah, no voice.
Sí, yo lo estoy oyendo, pero ellos no lo escuchan allá. Do you know maybe what else? What can I do to make the noise?
How about you just unmute your microphone?
You hear there?
I can hear your voice, but now I cannot see the video or the sound. Yeah, okay, now I can see the video, but still no voice.
Okay, I understand, but I don't know how to fix that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix that. We don't know how to. Do you have maybe somebody from technical support that can help us?
Yes, we have the technical people, but it seems that we cannot uh, to let the sound. Yeah.
Mm. So I don't know if you want to let Esingwa, do you know what, to let Esingwa speak, make her presentation, and then we give me an email where I can send you the video again.
Que vamos al final nada más y vemos la película al final que tiene subtítulos. Vamos al final del vídeo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility that you can, you know?
Yeah, I'm sorry because the technical person here say you have to because the video is they cannot control the video from our end. So
Yeah, we understand, but maybe you can give the next panelist.
okay,
and
okay.
You give us an email where we can send you the email, the video, please.
Okay, okay. Okay, so maybe I will ask Xiufeng to check about her email to see whether she received your video, and at the same time maybe we can move to the next panelist. The next panelist is Mr. Ezinwa Okorofo from Nigeria. Yeah, Miss Eziwan. So can you hear me? Miss Okorofo? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Okay. Xiufeng, I just sent you one now. There's an error I corrected. So I just sent you one if you don't mind.
Okay. Okay. 那我
I
要
just
怎么
sent
样
you one.
让它
If that is correct,
我要怎么样
I
同
corrected
时
those
可以
things on it.
就是可以 control 我的声音那个呢？这是他的。
Have you been able to change it? I apologize. I noted some errors, so I switched it around. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So please, yeah. Please start your
Okay, I don't know
presentation.
if All right, thank you. I don't know if Shu has been able. I sent Shu, because there's some corrections on it. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this session where we're talking about social protection systems for social protection systems versus women and girls, and I'm going to give a Nigerian outlook. Okay, we go back to okay. The first page, yes. Next page. Next page. Good. So I asked what are social protection systems, and so I tried to define what social protection systems are. I said they're systems that help individuals and families, especially they're targeted at the poor and vulnerable. And the idea is to help them cope with crisis and shocks, to help them find jobs, improve their productivity, invest in health and education of their families, and protect the aging population. This is a World Bank definition. But essentially, social protection systems, they in seeking to protect the poor and vulnerable, they kind of help to protect the population as a whole, because the different measures respond to the economic realities, okay, and in uplifting the poor, essentially help to build peaceful and inclusive societies and strengthen social cohesion. They also have a capacity to protect the environment, and I tried to find which of the SDGs can be is relevant to social protection systems. And in an article I read, the ILO referred us to SDG Target 1.3, where it's described as public measures that provide benefits to guarantee income security and access to essential health care, such as unemployment, insurance, disability benefits, old age pensions, cash and in-kind transfers, and other contributory and tax finance schemes. And then I tried to think about the Nigerian situation. So over the years, the Nigerian government has actually made efforts to provide social protection systems to support the poor and vulnerable. And these systems and measures have been carried out largely at the national level, but also at state levels. Nigeria has 36 states as well as the Federal Capital Territory. So at different levels, national level, state level, these social protection measures have been put in place. And what typically happens is that when the federal government thinks of these measures, sometimes the state governments are not able to afford the measures, and so they cannot provide them at the same rate or to the same extent as the federal government has provided. Some are not even able to provide at all. So you find that the more successful schemes are the ones where the federal government has made provision both at federal and state level, where some, like during COVID, we had what they're called palliatives, where like we had food and resources sent to families. So you found that the federal government, food, things like rice and other food items, these were sent across the states for sharing to the poorest of the poor individuals. Like I said in my presentation, during the COVID-19 lockdown period, that was when it was most impactful. There is a social protection policy framework, and there was a National Safety Nets Coordinating Office. But there was a 2019 report which talks about the Nigerian situation, talks about the fact that Nigeria is the most populous country in sub-Saharan Africa and the third most populous in the world. And the projection is that we'll have over 400 million people by 2040. So Nigeria is richly endowed. We have vast arable land, we have oil. So we're actually supposed to be a lower middle income country, but somehow Nigeria has the sad history of hosting some of the world's extreme poor and than any other country. And Nigeria's prosperity has implications for Africa and the world, because you find that there's a syndrome called, it's a local expression, Japa, which means people are leaving. There's quite a bit of migration abroad to countries like Europe, Canada, the US, etc. The bottom line is that in spite of the prosperity, or there should be what our resources are, so that we should be prosperous, but our reality is that things are not working. So a lot of young people are leaving. So another report, the Nigeria Economics Summit Group had a report in May titled "Achieving Shared Prosperity Through Functional Social Programs in Nigeria," and it also highlighted the fact that Nigeria had surpassed India in, not 2028, 2018, and has the highest prevalence of malnutrition in Africa. It's ranked 103 out of 121 countries on the Global Hunger Index on account of food insecurity, rising refugee headcount, an unhealthy environment, and lack of access to quality care. So recently we've had serious security issues. There's, up north we have the Boko Haram, which is supposed to be said to be linked to ISWAP, Islamic, I forget what it's called now, but it's known as ISWAP for short. So that is ravaging the north, and the north is the food basket of Nigeria. So because people no longer have security in their farms, it's affected food security. We know there's an issue with non-availability of food. And then because of climate change, again, you find that cattle is reared in the north, but we do not have formal, our cattle rearing methods are more traditional. And so there's open grazing. And that in itself has created problems, because with the climate change, you find that the cattle herders bring their cattle down south, and because it's open grazing, they're grazing on farms owned by people. That has created lots of security problems, lots of clashes between herders and farmers. And recently, there's been quite a bit of kidnapping also going on. There's a social register that has about 50 million beneficiaries, which is just that 8% of a number that has been identified. I've talked about terrorism, I've talked about kidnapping. The other point is that because of the high rate of crime, there's been an increase in the defense and security budget, but social services have not seen that kind of increase, because there's only so much that you can share. And so social services have only 3% of the budget. And there are several programs that have been planned by different administrations. Contributory pension and national health insurance, these were previous. Social assistance, school feeding program, cash transfer, labor market policies. So there's a periodic review of the national minimum wage. There is an ongoing review as we speak. And lately, the government came up with what they called a wage award of 35,000 naira. But sadly, because of fluctuations in foreign currency and the state of the economy, 35,000 naira used to be worth much more, but now it's only worth $22. That's the value of the wage award. Then there have been various interventions, but they've yielded little success because of various reasons, such as a lack of updated database. There's a high financial exclusion. When you talk about financial inclusion, you talk about bringing people into the formal network where they are able to access banking services. They become banked. There's a high financial exclusion. There's access to finance for people who, like entrepreneurs and all, is quite low when you think of the generality of the masses. The social protection measures, you find that when one government comes in, it starts a program. When the next government comes in, it doesn't necessarily follow up that program. And that breeds, the discontinuity breeds some level of distrust. And then, programs are started but not completed. There's a low receptiveness of these measures at subnational level. I talked about the fact that the federal government, they want to do these things, but the states are not able to afford it. Then there's large informal sector and vulnerable employment. It's said to be about over 70% of the total employment. What this means for people is that, while you may talk about minimum wage and all of that, that would work in the formal sector. In the informal sector, you cannot impose minimum wage, and so people, people are paid whatever it is that the employers are willing to pay them. So ultimately, there's a need for a robust social protection program that, administration after administration carries on. It will build trust. It will be accessible to beneficiaries, and such a program will need to be adequate in terms of the public good that it provides to citizens. And another researcher, EOSAM, identified some factors as challenges against social welfare schemes in Nigeria. He talked about high corruption. And it's a sad one because we've had two successive ministers. We have a ministry, Federal Ministry of Poverty, Humanitarian, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation at the federal level. The last two ministers were female, and for some reason, the ministry has been trailed with loads of scandals regarding implementation, regarding mapping, regarding, actual impact in the lives of students. So there's a high level of corruption that has marred believability about what the particular programs of the ministry have achieved, and it is the same in other places. Now, there's also, Nigeria has a high population, which I've spoken about. We run the presidential system of government. We used to have because Nigeria was colonized by the British, we used to run the parliamentary system. But at a later point, we moved to the presidential system. The challenge with that, it is quite expensive. Okay, we have the last government had promised to cut down on the size of government to reduce the sheer weight, cost of governance in Nigeria, but that hasn't happened yet. I talked about the lack of continuity of project, and then we've had a consistent theft of crude oil, which has decreased significantly the revenue coming to Nigeria from oil, which is its main source of revenue. That has created a real problem because it has impacted Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings. Here I'm trying to draw attention to some. I talked about. I don't know if this is the same slide that you have. No. So if you look in I was asking about a recent. The recent presentation I sent to Chiffon. So Chiffon, perhaps when this is over, you can upload that instead. In my current slide, I talked about past and present social protection initiatives, and they're way more than the ones listed here. I can give you examples: Better Life for Rural Women, Family Support Program, Family Economic Advancement Program. There was one that was called Youth Enterprise with Innovation in Nigeria, UWIN, which created jobs in different sectors of the economy, 26,000 jobs. There was Teach Nigeria, where 500,000 graduates were to be hired as teachers. There was Youth Employment and Empowerment, where 300 to 500,000 youth were engaged in skills acquisition and vocational training. We also had conditional cash transfers, homegrown school feeding, free education for tertiary education, then microcredit schemes, of course. Then something that happened, we had cash transfers from recovered assets. Now, what are recovered assets? Recovered assets are assets belonging to Nigeria, which were found had been stashed away by past leaders in foreign countries, and they were the proceeds of corruption. And so when these were identified, in line with a program called, or a scheme called Global Forum for Asset Recovery. When such funds are recovered, they are to be applied directly to measures that benefit citizens directly. So the first set of recovered assets were shared as cash transfers to the poor and vulnerable in society. Subsequent recovered assets were applied to projects that would impact the public. The challenge with things like cash transfers is the mapping of the beneficiaries, because there is no credible register, and so you do not know, there is no certainty that the people who really should be receiving these cash transfers are receiving them. There was also a scheme called Trader Money, Trader money was where money was just given to traders. Again, some kind of cash transfer, but little money, 10,000 naira, which right now isn't worth a lot, but at the time when it was being given, it was worth much more than that. A subsidy reinvestment program that was called SHOPI. I talked about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, the school feeding program and provision of palliatives, and recently a National Wage Award, which the government has instituted. It was supposed to be like a monthly award. With the falling value of the naira, this is valued at about $22 now, but previously it was worth much more. And there have been complaints that, again, some of this was paid at the federal level, but there's been a lag in the payments, and state governments have said they're not all able to pay this. So this is also one of those that has gotten stuck at the federal level and is not quite implemented lower down at the state level. So what are the recommendations for improvement? The government will need to scale up funding for social protection programs. There should be higher public spending and external donor assistance. And the scheme should cover various vulnerabilities experienced throughout the lifetime. So, from the young, healthcare issues, child and maternal mortality issues, up to aging issues. These schemes should cover that range, given that the poor and vulnerable also fall within this range. The program should be strengthened at national levels, at subnational levels as well. So it's not, the federal government can only do so much. It's the states where governments were to be able to sign on to these programs, then it would reach more people. Then on the issue of cash transfer, because of the number of unbanked people, in previous exercises, people were required to travel to certain locations to go collect the monies that was to be given to them. And the challenge with that was they spent a significant amount going to collect the money that was going to be given to them. So if things like adopting the use of technology, transferring to people, just ensuring transferring to people at the last mile so that the cost to those who are receiving the funds is limited. The National Social Register should be updated regularly, and there should be widespread public sensitization so that the beneficiaries get the information where they reside, and that way they are reached. I talked about the problem of identifying the target beneficiaries. If they get the information where they are, then they can respond. There's the need for a political will to sustain pre-existing programs. So it's not when one government comes in, it cancels the activities of the previous one and starts a new one. And you find that people have been waiting in line and it doesn't get to them. And then a new program is brought in, and you're not sure that the new program does not end up addressing those who've been reached before without addressing the beneficiaries that were not sufficiently lucky to receive the previous efforts. We need to have strong monitoring and evaluation mechanisms to ensure proper tracking of initiatives and that they are achieving the results that they should. We should entrench accountability and transparency. Government should use tried and tested agencies and individuals, both within the private and public sector, to handle arrangements relating to these social protection measures and in selecting beneficiaries. I talked about reducing the cost of governance because it takes a high toll on available resources. We need to use technology, use biometrics so that we're sure that we avoid duplication, and this will also aid national planning. We need security to protect the lives and properties of citizens. And then if there was basic infrastructure, for example, power, good roads, potable water, the pressures in the rural areas would be less, so rural or peri-urban areas would be less. The quality of lives of the citizens would be improved, because there is a certain joke right now that people are their own governments. They have to provide themselves generators for electricity. They have to provide themselves boreholes for water. They have to hire private guards for security. And so the question is, where is government in all of this? So if government was to provide the basic infrastructure, ensure security of life and properties of citizens, then people are able to breathe and are able to, the pressure is less, and people are able to, for example, if there's security, the food crisis presently wouldn't be there because people would be, busy at their farms producing and selling food that would be utilized across the country. So on a closing thought, social protection systems are a force for good. They have the capacity to lift the poor and vulnerable from the poverty and generally uplifts society, because when you find that the lowest of the low are lifted, then the pressure on the higher ups is less. There is a saying that the poor cannot sleep because they're hungry, and the rich cannot sleep because the poor are awake. So there is a clear link between social protection and shared prosperity. The challenges posed by the limited successes, corruption, access to accountability, all the challenges we identified should not discourage governments from setting up these initiatives. When the schemes are well run, they help to build trust in government and encourage good citizenship, people, good display of civic participation and just general support for the government. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah, I think we still have another panelist, Dennis. So Dennis, can you hear me?
I could.
So Dennis, could you unmute your microphone so that let us can hear your voice?
We could share with you from here the video.
Okay. Yeah,
Can we do
wonderful.
that?
Yeah, Angela. Yeah, please share your video.
Okay. So let us just get going.
Okay.
Pues yo lo pongo aquí y tú lo pasas allá. A ver. Yo cierro aquí. O abrimos aquí y tú abres el video acá. De este modo. Así podemos hacer aquí. Share, what happens? Share.
Te tienes que quitar el...
No, ok. No. Veremos, a ver, espere ya.
Okay.
Se lo puede abrir en todo su screen desde el principio. O lo abro yo acá y lo pasamos de allá.
No, pues yo lo pongo acá. Acá ya lo tengo abierto.
¿Qué?
Acá ya lo tengo abierto. Entonces usted lo va a pasar como así, o sea, lo va a pasar para que...
Transparencia. Un momentico. Ay, ahora ¿cómo hago para salir de aquí?
¿Para qué?
Salir de eso. Bueno, entonces aquí pongo. Ok. Yeah. Can you see us?
Yes, Angela, I can see you.
Can you see the video there?
No.
Okay, almost.
I am going to
Hi, Angela. We can see the video now, but we cannot hear the voice.
Okay, just give me a minute.
And I think there's some echo.
¿No puede? Me tengo que desconectar.
Good morning. First of all, thank you very much for having invited me to be part of this panel. I am going to talk about the ethic of care and maternalism in Colombian politics. I am going to talk about the maternal philosophy and the ethic of care in public policies and government responses to violence. I summarize the career of 5 Colombian women politicians. Women have distinctive effects on government policy, particularly regarding social violence that arise from gender-based values, such as maternal care. As a result of the quota law and the acceptance of women as policymakers, political and social movements generated by the 1991 National Constitutional Assembly and the efforts of women's organizations, in the year 2000, the Colombian Congress passed Law 581, establishing a legal quota for women, requiring that 30% of all decision-making positions be held by women. The Congress elected in 2022 is for the first time in history composed of 31% women, thanks to the closed list with seat modality, 1 woman, 1 man, composed of equal number of men and women presented by some of the parties. The introduction of quotas boosted the promotion of many competent women who were working at lower levels of government or in the public service, such as Ingrid Betancourt, who became a presidential candidate. Lilian Francisca Toro, who in addition to being elected as governor of Valle del Cauca, has acquired a political capital and is the president of the U Party. Claudia Lopez, who has held the position of mayor of Bogotá, the most important position in Colombia after the presidency. Francia Marquez, the Afro-Colombian woman elected in 2022 as vice president of Colombia. Gloria Inés Ramirez, who became the first woman to hold the presidency of Colombia in the 200 years of Republican life, achieved by law the minister who replaced the president when he goes abroad. Women are effectively penetrating the government hierarchies. Colombian history is more of continuous war and violence. A few months after the end of the War of Independence in 1819, a series of internal conflicts erupted. At the turn of the 19th century, liberals and conservatives were fighting the Thousand-Day War. During the 20th century, guerrillas on both sides of the political spectrum battled in the countryside. Between 1940 and 1950, La Violencia, a civil war between liberals and conservatives, were responsible for thousands of deaths. People were brutally murdered without regard to sex or age. The mass migration of people from the countryside to the cities created shanty towns, poverty, deprivation, and resettlement, coupled with institutional collapse and the breakdown of the rule of law caused by the drug economy and the hallmark of the 1980s and 1990s. Low-intensity warfare and civil disorder prevailed until the early years of the 21st century. The drug economy corrupted the revolutionary ethics and the principles transforming what were once ideological rebellions into drug-financed business, whose main concern was unchecked profit. As the state struggled to reestablish the rule of law with little success, irregular armies from across the political spectrum took the law into their hands. The presence of the international community is scant and variable, sometimes with only representatives of the International Red Cross and arms dealers roaming the country with little or no control. The peace agreement with the FARC, reached during the mandate of Juan Manuel Santos, 2010 to 2019, could not be consolidated due to the lack of political will of the right-wing government of Ivan Duque. The special jurisdiction of peace head, whose function is to administer transitional justice and hear cases of crimes committed in the framework of the armed conflict, struggle to fulfill their functions. Other aspects of the peace process, especially the situation of the reincorporated combatants, are only partially fulfilled, leading to complicated situations, such as the creation of a new guerrilla group called the FARC dissidents, which are in dispute with the ELN, Ejército de Liberación Nacional, and paramilitary groups for control of drug trafficking routes, and together have subjected some regions to crossfire, which the government seems to be powerless to deal with, affecting the people living in rural areas and causing forced displacement. Ex-combatants as well as leaders who defend human rights are continually assassinated individually or massacred in groups. Women's participation in the debacle is minimal. Men commit 95% of the killings, and the presence of women in the warring factions is small. Women have played a small part in military response to the war. There is no known participation of women in important guerrilla positions. Women's efforts to enter public life has been long and tedious. From the Spanish conquest until the time when women gained the right to vote in 1958, women were only marginally represented in public life, and then in special circumstances where they were mothers, wives, sisters, or mistresses of public men. The social habits of machismo, violence against women, and poverty have permeated, permanently conspired to discriminate against women and belittle their capacities as political leaders. How far the 5 women in these articles have manipulated or subverted cultural expectations, and how close have they been to real power? Ingrid Betancourt was elected to the House of Representatives in 1990s through an innovative campaign combining gender and breaking conventional paradigms. This young woman handed out condoms and street corners, saying that corruption equals AIDS. The electorate was seduced and voted for her en masse, an outcome that could not have been foreseen by her most experienced colleagues, as a similar tactic would not have led to the election of a male candidate. In her 8 years as a congresswoman, she became famous for exposing several corruption scandals and for publicly denouncing President Samper for his alliance with the drug trafficking mafia. She appealed to Colombia's conviction that women politicians are more honest. Her popularity as an anti-corruption agent led her to become a presidential candidate in 2000, where she presented herself as the Colombian Joan of Arc, who was the victim of Colombia's dishonest and corrupt political class. Ingrid Betancourt has effectively appealed to international as well as Colombian gender stereotypes. The autobiography, first published in French, charmed the political establishment in a country which adopted the image of a fragile Ingrid fighting to defend Colombia on her own. When FARC guerrillas kidnapped her, the international community strongly condemned the Colombian authorities for failing to provide Ingrid Betancourt with adequate security. Although there were close to 8,000 people kidnapped, none of them received as much international news coverage as Ingrid Betancourt. Uribe government's initial inability to release her and its refusal to consider the humanitarian exchange of Ingrid Betancourt for 5 prisoners cemented her international image as a martyr. Her rescue, along with 14 other hostages in the Operation Jaque, led by Juan Manuel Santos, the Minister of Defense, where no a drop of blood was shed, was one of the great successes of the Uribe government, and is possible of non-negotiations with the guerrilla that led to a second election as president, and the polarization of the country between those who advocated a military defeat of the FARC and those who supported a negotiated peace. It was this that finally prevailed and led to the 2017 peace accords and to Juan Manuel Santos as president being awarded the Nobel Prize in 1920. Kidnapping changed people's lives. Ingrid Betancourt was absent from politics for 20 years. She has written several books and was at Oxford Student Theology. She returned as a candidate for the presidency in 2022 with a novel platform not only against corruption, but to make Colombia the first green country in Latin America and to end the first deficit with the money recovered from corruption and carbon credits. She was defeated at the primaries. Lilian Francisca Toro began her political career as mayor of Huacarí, the heir of her grandfather, who was mayor 6 times. Her medical career has served her to exercise de facto the ethic of care in the different positions she was held between 1899 and 1997. She was Secretary of Health of Valle del Cauca and Health Consultant for the IDB. She ran for government of Valle del Cauca in 2000 while pregnant, but was not elected. Between 2002 and 2012, she was a congresswoman, being appointed president of the Senate. During her term, she created the Women's Caucus, which included women from different parties, and which turned around the possibilities of introducing laws in favor of women. In 2016, she was elected governor of Valle del Cauca, a position she held competently for 4 years, handling the government to her former campaign manager, Clara Luz Roldán, who was elected with the highest vote for governor in the department, proving that Lilian Francisca Toro has a political capital of her own. She created in Achiraco village a women-led project with free houses that has changed the life of 80 women and their families. In 2020, she was elected as president of the Partido de la U, or National Unity Party, a position that has always been held by men. Claudia Lopez is lesbian and is married to Angelica Lozano, a senator for the Partido Verde or Green Party. She began his political career as a student, promoting the 7th ballot that between 1989 and 1990 promoted the National Constituent Assembly in 1991. She became part of Enrique Peñalosa's government by being appointed mayor in charge during the first mayoralty. She joined the Green Party and was elected senator, standing out for her criticism of corruption. On 27 of December 2016, she announced her candidacy for the presidential elections, becoming the first pre-candidate of the Alianza Verde Party. That same year, as part of the coalition formed by the Polo Democrático, Compromiso Ciudadano, and Alianza Verde, she was Sergio Fajardo's vice presidential running mate and came third in the first round. In October 2019, she became mayor of Bogotá, and the first elected woman by popular vote, also at the first lesbian mayor. She had to deal with COVID-19 pandemic and solve the problems caused by the national strike in 2021. Francia Marquez considers herself a feminist, and her struggle has been for women and for the Afro-descendant communities that she considered to be enslaved. In her territory, she was forced to fight a legal battle to ensure that the land rights of the mining community were not violated. She ran in 2018 for the House of Representatives from a movement with a very unique name, I Am Because We Are, and with her own style, using an inclusive language whose most important phrase is, I represent the nobodies of the country. That is those who do not count. She ran for the presidency in 2022 and campaigned as Gustavo Petro's vice presidential candidate, being elected as the second woman vice president of Colombia. Gloria Inés Ramirez considers herself a feminist. Since her university days, she has been a militant of the Communist Party. It hurt her heart to see the abandonment of children, hunger, and misery. She fought her career for one of the most chauvinistic institutions in Colombia, the trade unions. She was president of ECODE, the Educators Union. She was senator for the Polo Democrático for the period 2006-2010, and repeated 2010-2014. She was appointed Minister of Labor by Gustavo Petro in 2022, and as the highest ranking minister of the same party, as the president, she was the first woman to hold the presidency of Colombia during the president's temporary absence. These women share a quality such as strong bias towards nonviolence and of non-traditional methods of consolidating and using power, and a strong reliance on moral nuances, driving their political and personal positions. The Colombian example can be used to emphasize the role of women should play in democratic institutions around the world. I am going to show you a short film, and thank you very much.
Yo soy madre, cabeza de hogar. Y entonces como pues el arriendo es demasiado caro y uno para levantar la familia y todo eso es muy duro. Y nosotros vivimos esto desocupado, muchas familias, y nos atrevimos a ocupar este terreno. Y zancudos, malos olores, nos tenemos que aguantar los malos olores y todo eso, porque cuando prende el río también tenemos peligro. La bendición de Dios sería uno tener su casa. Uno piensa más que todo para los hijos, porque los hijos es la meta de uno.
En Colombia, el conflicto armado nace y permanece ligado a la generación y distribución de la riqueza y del poder político. La desigualdad económica ha profundizado las formas de sobrevivencia de la población. Como resultado de la guerra y el desplazamiento forzado de las zonas rurales a las zonas urbanas, las mujeres han entrado a conformar los cinturones de miseria de las ciudades, donde llegan con sus hijos o porque han quedado solas o porque han sido abandonadas como resultado de la cultura machista que hace que los hombres sean esporádicos. El 33% de los hogares colombianos tienen a una mujer como cabeza de familia, y los índices de pobreza indican que el 70% de las personas en pobreza extrema son mujeres que sobreviven con unos ingresos de $1 diario. Por el hacinamiento y la pobreza, la violencia contra la mujer ha adquirido proporciones epidémicas, y el embarazo de las adolescentes es un problema de nunca acabar. En un predio de 3 hectáreas en el municipio de Palmira, Colombia, 88 mujeres cabeza de familia vienen cultivando la tierra durante los últimos 6 años. Las mujeres han hecho sus propias huertas para tener seguridad alimentaria. Con la ayuda de artistas internacionales y un premio otorgado por un hábitat, los jóvenes de Nachira han elaborado el proyecto La vida es un teatro. Con retal de mosaico, las jóvenes han construido el piso del ágora o centro de encuentro y de recreación para niños y adultos, decorado con elementos alusivos a la ecuatoriana. Muchas de las mujeres y jóvenes de Nachira vienen de áreas rurales que han sido afectadas por la violencia. Por eso, las mujeres de Nachira están en el proceso de generar un proyecto único y una comunidad ecológica, solidaria y sostenible.
Hace muchos años quedamos desplazados con mi familia y éramos pequeños y nos tocó llegar a la ciudad de Cali y vivir en un barrio de invasión donde la vida era muy insegura y pues había muchas dificultades. Ahora aquí me siento muy feliz de vivir aquí en la aldea Nachira, compartiendo con mi familia, con mis padres, con los niños, con toda la aldea, con toda la comunidad. Nos sentimos felices, aquí tenemos nuestra vivienda segura, tranquila. Desde hace 12 años pertenezco a la Asociación Mujeres de Cabeza de Familia del Proyecto Nachira. Eso hace que trabajamos por una mejor calidad de vida. Hoy vivo en mi casa con mi familia y soy muy feliz porque aquí conseguimos paz, tranquilidad y aire puro.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio 2 luceros que cuando los abro, perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado y en las multitudes el hombre que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído que en todo su ancho graba noche y día, grillos y canarios, martillos, turbinas, ladridos, vascos y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con él las palabras que pienso y declaro.
So, Angela,
Hermano y luz alumbrando la
Angela,
ruta de...
Yeah. There are 2 minutes remaining.
yeah, Angela, yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. Yeah,
Could you see it?
yes, yeah, we can see it. Yeah, maybe you can provide us the link, then I think I will share it to our members. Yeah,
I send you the presentation via WeTransfer.
Yeah, but it seems that Shoufeng cannot open the files through the WeTransfer. But I think there's no problem. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think before we go, maybe may I ask our participant open the screen so we can have a screenshot together.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you open the screen? Yeah.
Yes.
So Mr. Zhen, hi, and Shoufeng and Jen. Yeah, I think there's a Jen. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for the participation today. And we hear the situation, the social protection system from the Colombia, from Italy, from Nigeria, and from Taiwan. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to share the experience and to share our work situation from different countries around the world. So before we go, are there anything you want to say to each other? Angela?
It was great. It was great to be with you, and thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about Colombia. And again, Carolina, we expect you in Colombia between the 4th and the 8th of November this year for the National Convention.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I will deliver this message to our members. Yeah. Hope we'll try to find the chance to visit Colombia for the annual meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Aziva, are you to say anything? Sorry, you need to unmute your yes.
Okay, just to say
Yeah.
thank you for inviting me to participate in the session. I thoroughly enjoyed my time here. And Chiffon, I must apologize to you. I must have given you a lot of stress sending in my material late, but thank you for being so accommodating.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Well, happy CSW, everyone. Our theme for this year is fair inclusion. Yeah, so.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
See you in Colombia.
Yeah, thank you. And Ms. Chen, do you want to say something?
I have learned a lot from every presentation. It's a great night. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a wonderful presentation. Thank you. So I hope to see each other maybe in Colombia or maybe in other events in the near future. Thank you for your time. And I hope you had the time to visit Taiwan. We will be very, glad to receive all of you. Yeah, hope we have the chance to see all of you in Taiwan as well.
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye. Bye.